his updates on that? Is everyone okay, or what's the latest?
Yeah, everyone's fine. So everyone who played in the semi-final has come through fit. We haven't picked up any more injuries. Obviously Santiago Cordero is back in full training now, so there's decisions to be made around him. But I think this is the fittest group of players we've had to select from all season. So, barring Stu Townsend, who obviously has featured in our frontline 23 in previous seasons and indeed this season, we're picking from a fully fit squad.
And Cordero's had a pretty fantastic season. So is that an open and shut decision, or is it a bit tricky?
No, it's a tricky one with Santi, because actually he's done remarkably well to come back from the injury he had as quickly as he did, but he came back right on the cusp of us actually being able to get game time into him. And so actually we're sitting here with a guy who's he's done remarkably well to get back in the time scale he has from the injury. He's now in full training but hasn't played for numerous weeks, and so finding a way to fit him into a fully fit squad that are playing well and are up to game time, and aren't tired and aren't fatigued, it's going to be a tough call.
But you need something a bit different against that sort of defence, don't you? And obviously that's the sort of thing you can...
It's a bit yes and no, isn't it? Because ultimately it doesn't really, the bodies you have on the field ultimately don't matter that much if the other 14 guys aren't doing what they need to do. If he doesn't get ball in space, he doesn't get quick ball, it all becomes a bit irrelevant. I think we're aware that there's going to be lots of challenges all over the field, and we're going to have to play very well to come out on top. But we feel we're kind of where you need to be at this stage of the season. We don't look like a group of players who are seeing the season out. We look like a group of players who are still accelerating. I think our performances over the last couple of weeks have shown improvement, haven't shown tiredness or fatigue or any injury issues. If anything, we've been able to manage this last 5 or 6 weeks to a degree to be peaking, and it's coming. It feels like it's coming good for us.
There's no temptation with Cordero for a sentimental send-off or anything there?
I just don't. I think the sentiments of it are irrelevant. The sentiments and the emotions have to be spread across the team. What's good for the side. Santi's been absolutely fantastic for us. Absolute professional, great guy, popular among the squad. The way he's got back from this injury has just shown how determined he has to be part of it. No one feels sorry than me that he's not been fully fit in the running and fully able to put his best foot forward. But it's one of those cruel things that sometimes happens.
Are you doing anything deliberately different from last year in terms of logistics and arrangements?
Nothing deliberately different in our travel or our training approach. The one thing that we have focused on and we have talked about a fair bit this week is not to play the game too early. I think big games come around relatively rarely, and actually one of the hardest things to do is still train with quality and get your prep right, but without getting over emotive about things and over kind of almost seeing that game right in front of you, and everyone's burnt up their emotional energy way too early. We've become way better than that, and way wiser that actually you don't need to see guys running around with frowns on their faces and slugging it out with each other every minute during the last week of the season. It's more about, let's say, getting mentally focused, yes, training with quality, but being able to kind of switch between the two, being able to relax at the right time, get intense at the right time. And now we've got to, like I say, we've got to add the layers of our performance over the next couple of days. That will be that determination to work hard and get emotional and get physical out on the field, because those are going to be, have to be givens for us to compete well against Saracens.
Are they doing anything significantly different to what they were doing this time last year, or better than this time last year?
I think it's a tough one against Saracens, because there's no doubt they've got good players. And I'm not going to sit here and go, they've got a simple game plan, because that's just so condescending. It's scary, because making things look simple comes down to working very hard at them and being very good at what they do. But there is a reality that they've got guys who have grown very accustomed and are very good at running very hard onto the ball and creating momentum and creating hot ball that then other skillful and quick players can monopolise from and find space against slow defenders or lagging defenders or guys who are on their toes in defence. And there's a reality to that. There's a reality to how well organised they are in their exit strategy, how well they compete in the air, how well they scavenge on the floor. We can all kind of talk about them. We all kind of know what's coming. We've all seen length of the pitch drives from Saracens come from a well-organised box kick, a great competition, they snaffle the ball on the floor, they get the ball to space quickly, and all of a sudden you're on the back foot and you get a double forward carry against you of Billy Vunipola and then Will Skelton, and then the same way you've got 3 or 4 backs running full pace onto the ball and it's a try. That's something that has to be combated, and you've got to get lots of little bits right to break that down. You've got to get good bits right about how you compete against their exit, good bits right about how you compete in the air, how you're ready to scavenge on the floor, how you get reorganised if they win it, how someone puts in a stop tackle to create slow ball. There are lots of little moments we're going to have to try and win bit by bit, but that will be what it's about. It's about which team can win the little moments, and Saracens do that very well. And we've got to challenge them in that area more than anything else. I don't see there being one big area where we've got to get it right. I see lots of little individual battles right across the field in every second the clock's ticking that we're going to have to be very good at.
That aerial game, kicking to compete, they constantly against Gloucester. They always, as they said afterwards, the ball always seemed to fall to them, which is not by accident the way they chase it and then surround the competition in the air. Do you have to be aware to not put all your eggs in one basket and focus on preparing for that, while also being aware that it's an area?
Well, that's it. That's the battle, isn't it? The battle is, what happens. What is the what ifs, and that's why you've got to try and remove as many of those what ifs as you can, and that's by, as I say, each player has to go flat out to what their job is, and that's ultimately how. And I think if you're going to pay a big compliment to Saracens, that's what I feel when I watch them, is that they feel very comfortable at going flat out at what their role is at that particular time, and whether that's a kick chase, whether it's the way they run onto the ball, whether it's the clearing of a run. Those are the individual battles we've got to stand strong in. And as you say, it's not going to be about throwing everything into one area of the game. It's about you. In that moment, I've got this part of the field to deal with, not much more, but this is the bit I've got to win. And I think that will be those will be the moments where we'll know if we can come through.
You've spoken a lot about the emotion of last year and how angry the players were. Is that a message that's been spoken about a lot in training this week?
Spoken more, I think, amongst the playing group and the players than by me or by the other coaches. For me, I'm not saying it was nice to see them upset and a bit angry, because I think that just showed a progression from us as a club. So from the first final, where I think we were a bit bothered we hadn't won it, but it was an amazing achievement. We had our first top 4, our first semi-final, our first final. Very happy with it. The second year obviously was great. We kind of took that next step and won. Third year, you could just tell it wasn't okay just to be there. It wasn't okay just to be there, and probably a little bit more in that I think we had some players who actually openly were quite prepared to put their hand up and say that they hadn't played as well as they would have liked to have played or expected to play. And I think that's what experience is about. Saracens have gone through a lot of those experiences themselves as well. We would like to go through a lot of those experiences of what it feels like to win, what it feels like to lose, and that's how you become a better side and have better players. And I was quite pleased that we came through a big season and a big final, and it looked like we had a group of players who really wanted to learn from it and move on. What we've got to do in this final now is see how much we have moved on, because the reality is it's us against Saracens again, and it is a bit of a battle who moves on the most.
After Saturday and the game against Northampton, Chris Boyd said he thinks there's a considerable gap now opening between Saracens and the Chiefs and effectively the rest of the Premiership. I mean, do you kind of agree with his sentiment, and does that, I suppose, is it an accolade to how far this club has come in the last decade, that they're kind of up there with Saracens and the rest are all following?
Well, I'm obviously pleased that we came top of the league and that we did it by collecting a lot of points and not losing a lot of games. Whether there's a huge gap, I just don't think it kind of works like that. I think most sports teams are quite cyclical, and our challenge here as a coaching team with the group of players we've got is to make sure we fight very hard to avoid getting into the cycle where it's not our turn anymore, or it's not us moving on. And I think that's the key a little bit. I think there's a few teams in the Premiership who have kind of reached maybe the poor point in the cycle, and are on the up again, and will make the Premiership even more competitive than last year. And our battle is to make sure that we don't get pulled into a cycle we've seen some other teams get dragged into. And that just comes down to fresh starts and groups of guys deciding to work hard and not being complacent, and and still taking their day-to-day work seriously. And that will be for us to decide. The gap will only stay there if ourselves and Saracens decide to work harder than anybody else. The minute we get caught on that front, everything will change.